Level 1. The Private. You arrive at one of two places on Earth that make Marines. Parris Island, South Carolina, if you enlisted east of the Mississippi. Marine Corps Recruit Depot, San Diego, if you enlisted west of it. There's no third option. Every enlisted Marine in the history of the Corps has come through one of these two gates, and the gate is designed to break the civilian out of you the way a farrier strips a hoof. Down to the quick, then rebuilt. Recruit training is 13 weeks. The longest basic training in any branch of the American military. You are E1, private, no insignia, no chevrons, no rank visible on your uniform because you haven't earned the right to wear one. Your drill instructors address you by your last name, preceded by the word recruit, because you are not yet a Marine, and the word Marine is not applied casually in this organization. It is the only branch that does not call its members soldiers, sailors, or airmen. Marine. The word itself is a rank. You run. You march. You drill. You learn to shoot the M16A4 or the M4 at the rifle range, and every Marine qualifies with a rifle regardless of MOS because every Marine is a rifleman. This is not a slogan, it is doctrine. The cook qualifies, the mechanic qualifies, the administrative clerk qualifies. The Corps has 180,000 active duty members, making it the smallest of the four main branches, and it compensates for its size with a culture that treats every individual as a combat asset. You earn the Eagle, Globe, and Anchor, the EGA, after completing the Crucible, a 54-hour final event involving 48 miles of marching, sleep deprivation, food deprivation, and a series of combat-simulated exercises designed to test everything the previous 12 weeks have built. When they hand you the EGA and call you Marine for the first time, you will feel something that no other moment in your life has produced and that no one who hasn't experienced it can understand. You are E1. You earn $2,407 per month. You are a private in the United States Marine Corps. You are the lowest rank in the most demanding branch. Everything starts here. Level 2, the Lance Corporal. E3, the rank that defines the Marine Corps the way the private defines the Army. You are promoted to PFC at 6 months and to Lance Corporal at 9 to 12 months, and the Lance Corporal is the backbone of the infantry, the workhorse of the fleet, and the subject of more memes and dark humor than any rank in any branch, because the Lance Corporal is the Marine who does everything and decides nothing. You are senior enough to be given responsibility, but junior enough to receive none of the authority that usually accompanies it. You carry the heaviest loads on patrol. You stand the worst watches. You're the first to be voluntold for working parties and the last to leave when the working party is done. You are the E3 Mafia, an informal network of lance corporals who have mastered the art of appearing busy while doing the minimum, of knowing exactly where to be and where not to be, of trading favors and information across the battalion with an efficiency that the actual chain of command envies but will never acknowledge. You've deployed once. Maybe to Okinawa with the unit deployment program, maybe to the Middle East, maybe to a Marine expeditionary unit aboard a Navy ship where you lived in a berthing compartment the size of a closet with 30 other Marines and went ashore in countries you'd never heard of before the deployment brief. You're 19 or 20 years old. You're in the best physical condition of your life. You're profoundly bored between deployments and profoundly alert during them. You're thinking about re-enlisting or getting out, and the decision will define the next decade of your life, and you're making it with the accumulated wisdom of a 20-year-old who has seen more of the world in 18 months than most civilians see in a lifetime. Level 3, the Corporal. E4, non-commissioned officer. This is where the Marine Corps separates itself from every other branch. In the Army, an E4 is a specialist, technically an NCO by pay grade, but functionally a senior enlisted worker. In the Marine Corps, an E4 is a corporal, and a corporal is an NCO, and an NCO in the Marine Corps is responsible for the Marines under his charge in combat and in garrison, and the responsibility is not theoretical. It is doctrinal, historical, and enforced. You are 21 or 22. You lead a fire team of 3 Marines. You are responsible for their training, their appearance, their discipline, their readiness, and their welfare. When they fail, you fail. When they succeed, you succeed. The promotion to corporal is competitive, based on a composite score that factors proficiency in conduct marks, time in grade, time in service, rifle score, physical fitness test score, and Marine Corps Institute courses completed. Not everyone makes it. Some Marines spend their entire enlistment as lance corporals and leave the Corps never having worn the 2 chevrons of a corporal. You wear them. The crossed rifles beneath the chevrons are unique to the Marine Corps, and they signify what the Corps has always signified, that leadership begins at the smallest unit, in the fire team, in the squad, in the patrol, in the moments where a 22-year-old corporal makes a decision that determines whether 3 Marines live or die on a rooftop in Fallujah, or a patrol base in Helmand, or a mountain trail in the Korangal. The burden of those chevrons is disproportionate to the pay grade, and that disproportion is intentional. The Corps loads responsibility onto its youngest NCOs because it believes that leadership under pressure cannot be learned at 30. It must be learned at 22, under fire, with lives depending on the learning. Level 4, the Sergeant. E5. You are a squad leader now. 13 Marines, 3 fire teams under 3 corporals who answer to you. The sergeant is the rank where the Marine Corps' mythology and its reality converge because the sergeant is the rank that fights the war. Not the officers who plan it, not the generals who direct it, the sergeant. The man on the ground with a radio and a rifle and 13 men who will go wherever he tells them to go and do whatever he tells them to do. Because the trust between a Marine sergeant and his squad is the trust that the entire institution is built to produce. You've done 2 or 3 deployments. You've been in firefights. You've lost men, or you've been close enough to losing men that the possibility is no longer abstract. You hold your NCO sword, the NCO sword for sergeants and above, the oldest weapon in continuous use in the American military, carried since 1859. The sword is ceremonial now, but the symbolism is not. It says that the Corps trusts you with a blade, because it trusts you with lives. You attend the sergeant's course at one of the Corps' professional military education schools, because the Marine Corps invests in its NCOs, the way other branches invest in their officers, with formal schooling, doctrinal education, and the expectation that a sergeant will think tactically, not just execute orders. You are making $3,200 to $4,500 per month, depending on your time in service and your dependents. You're 24 or 25 years old. You re-enlisted because the first enlistment showed you something you didn't expect, that the Marine Corps is not a job you go to. It is an identity you carry. You don't work at the Marine Corps. You are a Marine. The distinction is the whole point. Level 5, the Staff NCO, E6 through E7, Staff Sergeant and Gunnery Sergeant. You've crossed from the NCO tier to the Staff NCO tier, and the crossing changes everything. As a Staff Sergeant, you are a platoon sergeant, the senior enlisted Marine in a platoon of 40 to 50 Marines, working alongside a lieutenant who has a college degree and officer training and less time in the Corps than you have time in grade. You teach him. Every new lieutenant knows that his platoon sergeant knows more about leading Marines in combat than he does, and the relationship between the two, the lieutenant's authority and the staff sergeant's experience, is the engine that drives the Marine Corps' small unit effectiveness. As a gunnery sergeant, E7, gunny, you have arrived at the rank that defines the senior enlisted experience. The gunny is the operations chief, the tactical advisor, the man who translates the commander's intent into action on the ground. The gunny is Heartman in full metal jacket and highway and Heartbreak Ridge, and every drill instructor who ever shaped a recruit, because gunnery sergeant is the rank from which most drill instructors are drawn. You have 12 to 15 years in the Corps. You've deployed 4, 5, 6 times. At E7 you face a fork. Your fitness reports will indicate whether you prefer the technical track, promotion to Master Sergeant and eventually Master Gunnery Sergeant, or the command track, promotion to First Sergeant and eventually Sergeant Major. The choice determines the rest of your career. Technical means expertise, command means leadership. Both are necessary, both are respected. Only one puts you in the position of being the senior enlisted Marine in a unit, which is where the real weight lives. Level 6, the First Sergeant and Sergeant Major, E8 and E9 on the command track. The First Sergeant, top first shirt, the old man's right hand, is the senior enlisted Marine in a company of 100 to 200 Marines. You are the commander's principal advisor on everything involving the enlisted Marines in the unit. Discipline, morale, welfare, administration, readiness. You know every Marine in the company by name. You know their families. You know who's having financial trouble, who's struggling with their marriage, who's drinking too much, who's about to break, and who's about to excel. The Marine Corps is a small organization by military standards, and the First Sergeant is the reason it functions at the human level. The Sergeant Major, E9 command track, is the same role scaled up to the level where individual Marines become statistics, and the Sergeant Major's job is to prevent that from ever happening. Battalion Sergeant Major, responsible for the welfare and discipline and readiness of 800 to 1,000 Marines. Regimental Sergeant Major, 3,000 to 5,000. Division Sergeant Major, 20,000. You attend commanders' meetings where the conversation is about force posture and deployment timelines and budget allocations, and your job in those meetings is to be the voice of the lance corporal and the corporal and the sergeant who are affected by every decision made in that room, but who have no seat at the table. You advise colonels and generals who have decades of education and experience, but who rely on you to tell them what the enlisted Marines are actually thinking, feeling, and capable of, because the distance between a general's office and a lance corporal's barracks is a distance that only a sergeant major can bridge honestly. At the apex, the sergeant major of the Marine Corps, personally selected by the commandant, serving a 4-year term as the senior enlisted Marine in the entire Corps. One person, representing 180,000 Marines. Level 7, the company grade officer, second lieutenant through captain, 01 through 03. You earned your commission through the Naval Academy, through Officer Candidates School at Quantico, through NROTC, or through the enlisted to officer pipeline that takes a sergeant or staff sergeant and sends him to OCS to emerge as a second lieutenant who knows more about the Corps than any of his peers because he lived it before he led it. You attend the basic school, TBS, at Quantico, Virginia, a 6-month course where every Marine officer, regardless of eventual MOS, learns infantry tactics, because in the Marine Corps, every officer is an infantry officer first. You are assigned your MOS: infantry, artillery, logistics, communications, aviation, intelligence. The range is wide, but the foundation is narrow. Every Marine officer leads Marines, and every Marine officer is expected to be competent in combat regardless of specialty. As a second lieutenant, you command a platoon. As a first lieutenant, you serve as an executive officer or move into a staff role. As a captain, you command a company, 100 to 200 Marines, and the company is where the Marine Corps fights its wars. The company is the unit that takes the hill, holds the position, clears the building, secures the intersection, and absorbs the casualties. The company commander is assisted by a first sergeant who has 15 years of experience and who will save the captain's career if the captain is smart enough to listen, and will watch the captain fail if the captain is too proud to ask. You are 26 to 30 years old. You earn $4,500 to $7,500 per month. You are responsible for Marines who are younger than you and who will die if you make the wrong decision, and who will live if you make the right one. And the distance between those two outcomes is often measured in seconds. Level 8, the field grade officer, major through colonel, 04 through 06. You are no longer in the field, not routinely. The major is a staff officer in operations, intelligence, logistics, working at the battalion level. The lieutenant colonel commands a battalion, 800 to 1,000 Marines, the unit that executes the tactical plan within the larger operational framework. It takes 16 to 22 years to reach lieutenant colonel, and the attrition along the way is severe because the Marine Corps is the smallest branch and the pyramid narrows faster than in any other service. The colonel commands a regiment, 3,000 to 5,000 Marines, the combat formation that has been the Corps' standard building block since before the World Wars. You attend the Marine Corps War College or the Army War College at Carlisle Barracks, Pennsylvania. You study strategy, national security policy, joint operations, and the political dimensions of military force that a captain never sees and that a colonel must navigate daily. You are no longer thinking about fire teams and squad movements. You are thinking about how the Marine Corps fights as an institution, its constitutional role as the nation's force in readiness, its expeditionary character rooted in 250 years of being first to fight, its unique ability to project power from the sea to the shore within hours of a crisis. You are thinking about amphibious operations, littoral combat, distributed maritime operations, and the future of a corps that has reinvented itself in every generation since 1775, because the Corps survives by adapting, and it adapts by asking colonels to think beyond the next deployment and into the next decade. The colonel's the last rank before general officer. Most officers never reach it. Of those who do, only a fraction will pin a star. The rest will retire as colonels, which in any other context would be extraordinary achievement, and in the Marine Corps is simply the point where the pyramid ran out of space. Level 9, the General Officer, Brigadier General through General, 07 through 010. You are nominated by the President and confirmed by the Senate. A Brigadier General commands a brigade or serves as Deputy Division Commander, 10,000 to 15,000 Marines. A Major General commands a division, 20,000 Marines. A Lieutenant General commands a Marine Expeditionary Force, the largest standing Marine Corps formation, combining ground, air, and logistics elements into a force capable of sustained independent operations. And the General, 4 stars, 010, is the Commandant of the Marine Corps. The Commandant sits on the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He is the senior uniformed Marine, responsible for the training, equipping, organization, and readiness of every Marine in the Corps. He answers to the Secretary of the Navy and the Secretary of Defense and the President of the United States. The Marine Corps was founded on November 10, 1775, at Toon Tavern in Philadelphia. It has fought in every American conflict since, from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, below Wood, where the Germans called the Marines Teufelshunde, devil dogs, Iwo Jima, where the flag went up on Suribachi and the photograph became the most reproduced image in the history of American warfare, Chosin Reservoir, where the 1st Marine Division fought its way out of a Chinese encirclement in temperatures that reached 35 below zero. When asked if they were retreating, the commanding general said they were attacking in a different direction. Hugh City in 1968, house by house. Fallujah in 2004, block by block. Helmand and Sungin, where Marines fought and bled in terrain the British had warned them about, and the Marines went anyway because Marines go where they're sent and fight what they find. The Commandant carries all of it, every battle, every name on every wall and every headstone in every cemetery, every Marine who died wearing the eagle, globe, and anchor, the weight of 250 years of being first to fight and last to leave. Level 10, the cycle. Right now, at a recruiting station in a strip mall somewhere in America, a 17-year-old is sitting across a desk from a Marine recruiter. The recruiter is a sergeant or a staff sergeant in his service. Charlies and the ribbons on his chest represent deployments the 17-year-old cannot imagine. The kid has a GED or a high school diploma or is about to get one, and he's been thinking about this for months. Or he walked in on impulse after a bad week, and either way, he's here now, and the recruiter's explaining the process: SVAB, physical, MEPS, boot camp, EMOS selection, and the kid is listening, but what he's really hearing is the thing the recruiter isn't saying, which is that the Marine Corps will take everything he has and give him back something he didn't know he was missing: an identity, a standard, a tradition that extends back 250 years and that will extend forward for as long as the nation requires men and women willing to be the first to fight. The kid doesn't know about the crucible or the EGA or the moment when the drill instructor calls him Marine for the first time. He doesn't know about the Lance Corporal underground or the Gunny's bark or the first sergeant who knows every Marine in the company by name. He doesn't know about Bellow Wood or Iwo Jima or the frozen hell of the Chosin Reservoir. He knows what everyone knows: that Marines are different, that the standards are higher, that the title is earned, not given. He signs the paper. He ships to Parris Island or San Diego. The cycle begins again.